Hello everyone, welcome to Module 2 of Complete Python course 0 to Hero series. In this module, we will learn basic syntax, variables and data types in Python, conditional statements like if else, else if block, loops like for loop, while loop, functions and lambda expressions, modules in the Python. At the end of this project, we will build a calculator project. At the end of this project, we will build a Python calculator project. So let's start with the basic syntax in Python. Let me switch to VS Code and create a directory for module 2. Inside this, we'll create a file named as basics.py. The first thing about Python fundamentals is Python script ends with .py extension, and you need to create a file with .py extensions only. Once done, you can use print statement, print anything inside your program. So if you want to print any statement which is a part of your program execution, you can write it. So we'll write welcome to Python order. And if you just save this script and if you write Python basics.py, let's switch to model 2. Oh, so we need to create folders inside this Python Python complete course series. And yeah, so let me switch to model 2 and try to execute this particular script basics.py. So here you can see this line is printed. So Python reads the code from top to bottom, no semicolons required, and indentation matters. So what do I mean by indentation? So let's suppose if I print this line, so if I give space right here, and if I try to execute this code, this will give me indentation error because we are unnecessarily giving in space right here. So here you can see the same thing, cell unexpected indentation. So you need to follow the indentations while writing the program. Indentation is nothing but giving proper number of spaces to the statements inside your code. The best example of indentation you will see while creating if else block, because during if else block you will need to follow the indentation while writing the different kind of like for loops. You need to follow the indentation. These are the basic things you need to follow when writing a Python script. Next thing is variables. So let's explore variables. So variables are nothing but a container to store your data. Variables value changes, so you can change the values for the variables. So for example, name equals John, role equals wrestler, and industry equals WWE. Python. This way you can define variables in the Python. So name equals Cristiano, role equals football, football player, industry equals football. So this way you can create variables and store these values inside these variables. So left hand side, this is the variable name followed by equal to, and this is the value of this particular variable. So this value can be changed right here. Now if you try to print the same variables, then let's see how it prints. So name, comma, role, comma, industry. Okay, let's save this and run this. So here you can see initially we have created a variable called as name, role, and industry. Then for same variable we have assigned different values like Cristiano football player and football. So the first initial values are overridden right here, and this is what has been printed by this print statement. And here you can see the latest value is being picked by these variables and it has been passed to the uh, compiler for execution. So this equal to assigns value to these variables, and variables can be changed at any point of time. And this way we have printed the variables. Here you can see we are using formatted string. This f is called as formatted string, and if you want to access your variables inside this print block, you have to follow this syntax. So you have to use print function along with f followed by double quotes, and inside this you need to uh, you need to provide your variables inside these curly braces. So name, role, etc. And this way it will print the variables created in your particular script. There are some rules you need to follow while creating the variables. So let's suppose if you create variable with any special character, then it will fail. And here you can see the error right here. So statement must be separated by new lines or semicolons. So this variable is invalid. We get the error. So invalid decimal literal. So your variable cannot start with number. There are few rules for variables. So always make sure you use characters while creating variables. You can make use of, you can use underscore like role, name, etc. Don't start with numbers, and don't use spaces, no spaces in variables, and the variables are case sensitive. What do you mean by case sensitive? So let's say if I give one role and name right here, and I'm trying to use this role name, which is in small case, so the it will give the error. So you have to use the same name because this is case sensitive. So yeah, uh, these are the different rules you need to remember for creating variables. Yeah, you can create number of variables just for learning purpose, and you can see what all variables are correct one and what all variables are incorrect. Yeah, with this we have covered the basic syntax and variables section of this particular module 2. We are proceeding with data types now. Then we are proceeding with data types. So let me create a file here for module 2. So far we have covered about basics and variables inside Python. Next thing is data types. Okay. So data type basically tells Python what kind of data is provided to the variable. So name equals Python is string variable. String is basically a collection of characters. So this is string. When we provide version of Python, so let me print the version of Python right here. So Python upon version. So so Python version is 3.13.6. 3.13.6. So the data type of the name is string. The data type of this particular version is float. 3.13 float. So float is the floating numbers with decimal values. Then the next is number of users. Number of users is equal to 10. So this is integer number. This data is of type integer, because this cannot be, the number of users cannot be in the float. The version is given in float number, float data type, and the name is given in string data type. Number of users is in integer data type, and application status can be given in true false. Like whether it is if it's running, it is true, or else it could be false. So this type of data is called as boolean, where your response will be in the form of true or false, either or, like either true or false. So either app is running or not running. If it's not running, it can be treated as false. Based on these values, we can understand the current state of that particular variable. Now the next thing we are going to see is how to really check what is the data type of this particular variables. To check, so to check the data type, the function is type, and you need to provide the variable here. Let's try to use the type function in order to check the variable data type of name variable, version variable, number of users variable, and app running variable. Okay, okay. And here you can see the same thing has been printed by the Python. So Python is object oriented programming language, and everything stored inside Python is object. And these particular data types are of type class, and these are the variables. Right here are the data type of string data type, float data type, version is of float data type, number of users is of int data type, and app running is of full data type. And same thing has been written right here. So this way you can define your variables, and you can check the data type of variables with the help of this type function. And with this, we have covered first point of this particular model, which is basic syntax, variables, and data types. The next thing is conditional statements like if, else, elif, go. So let me create a next new script for conditional statement. So let's create one script, create file conditionals dot py. Let's try to understand the conditional statement first, and then we will cover the practical usage of it. So conditional help make decisions. If your use case requires some decision making kind of like process, so conditional statements are used to make decisions. So let's suppose there is an election, and if there are two political parties like BJP or Congress, then which party should elect based on number of votes? Now that will be decided with the help of conditional statements. So the input for this kind of like, so let's suppose you have got a project to you have got a project to check who is the winner of election. To check who is the winner of election based on number of votes. Based on number of votes, and the options are BJP or Congress. So for this kind of like situations or this kind of projects, you would need conditional statements where it will check who has got more number of votes, and based on that, it will show this party has elected or this party has which party has won the election, whether it's BJP or Congress. So let's try to do that. In Python, the input function is there to take the input from the user. So let's take a input vote is equal to input, and we'll say enter number of votes for BJP. Then enter number of BJP vote. We'll define variable as BJP votes, INC votes. Enter number of votes for Congress. And yeah, so let's try to explore the input function right here. So we'll do one thing. We'll take the input from user, and we'll try to print the data type for these variables, BJP votes and INC votes. And in order to print the type, you need to use type function inside print. So it will print the type of this particular variable. Okay. So let's try to run this dot py. Enter number of ports for VGP 100, 101. So here you can see these are the input. By default takes input in the form of string. Default web type is string, and the votes are basically counted in the form of integers, not in the form of float or real numbers, but in the form of integers. So to do that, you need to do the typecasting. So typecasting is required here. What do you mean by typecasting? So data type conversion from one data type to another. So so here we need to change. We need to basically typecast from string to integer. So to do that, we just need to use int function in front of this input. We'll do it for next variable as well. And now if we try to, okay, wait. So if we try to print the same thing again, it will print the integer. And here you can see the typecasting is done from string to integer with the help of this int method. If you want it to float, you can use float function. And yeah, if you want for full, you can use full function. So this way you can do the typecasting based on your type of input. So this is the important basic concept in Python typecasting. So before we jump into conditional statement, we need to understand this typecasting as well. So far we have taken the inputs from the user. Now next thing is we need to identify who has got more votes. Now to take that decision, the conditional statement will come into picture. Previously we have observed one thing which is indentation. So that thing will also come in picture. So now we have to use conditional statement, and first thing we'll explore is if block. So if BJP votes are greater than INC votes, then who won will print BJP has won the election. Now if you want to print by how many number of votes, then you can create one more variable inside if, and you just need to define number. You just need to define one more variable, number of votes, which will take, which will count the difference between these two, which will count the difference we have won the election by number of votes, number. And you need to use formatted string. Use formatted string for printing the variables, like print f, okay, number of votes, and here we'll write. Now let's try to execute this program once again. Number of votes for BJP 110, Congress has got 100. And here you can see BJP has won the election by 10 votes. Now what if I execute same program, and here if I have give 100 votes for BJP and 110 for Congress, then I don't get any response. For that this case we need to use, for this case we need to use else block. Okay, print, we'll copy the same statement and paste it here. Instead of BJP, we'll write INC as won the election by number of votes, and we'll define this number of votes right here. So this number of votes variable is local to this particular if block. If I try to access this number of votes, then it says it is it not defined, because this number of votes is local to this particular if block. Now else is unaware about this number of votes. And for the same case, we what we'll do here is we'll define the number of votes in this particular block as well. And here we will write INC votes minus BJP votes. Okay, and let's try to run the program. BJP has got 100 votes, Congress has got 110 votes, and here you can see INC has won election by 10 votes. So this logic seems correct to most of you guys, but it is not correct. You need to understand different use cases while writing a program. So if BJP has got more than BJP votes are more than INC votes, then in that case you have written as BJP has won the election. If BJP votes are less than INC votes, in that case you have written as INC has won the election. But there might be cases that BJP votes and INC votes will be similar, and that and in that case as well, it will print this message. So let's try to see if the both parties have got same votes, what will, and it has printed the wrong message. Hence has won election by 0 votes. So in that case, you need to use elif block. So let's create elif block right here, and here I will define the condition. If INC votes are greater than BGP votes, then only print this message. Otherwise, parties has got both parties has got equal votes. Draw election. Results is draw. Okay. So this is the usage of elif. If BJP has got more than number of INC votes, so if there are more than two conditions, then in that case you need to make use of elif condition. So if both the parties has got 100 votes, the result is draw. Now if BJP has got more votes, then BJP is the winner of the election. If the Congress has got more number of votes, then Congress is the winner of this particular election, and same message has been printed right here. So accordingly, you can create the programs and make use of these conditional statements. So with this, we are done with conditional statements. Next thing we are going to explore is loops, and we'll create a new program for loops. So let's create program for loops. .py. Loops, by definition, are used when there is a repetition of code. So if you want to repetition of code or repetitive task, in that case, you can make use of loop. In your environment, we basically look through servers, files, logs to check different things, to perform different things. In such scenarios, you can make use of for loop or while loop. So first loop is for loop. So let's create a list of servers like web 1, web 2, web 3. So this is the list of servers. We are going to cover this list, tuples, sets, dictionaries in the next module. Just for now, understand this is the list of items, and the items are of type servers. And here we have three servers named as web 1, web 2, and web 3. And here we want to access these servers. And to access this and perform different actions on the servers, you need to. So you can make use of for loop or while loop. So first thing we will see is for loop. So let's try to create for loop for this particular list. So for server in servers, what I want is print the server name. And yeah, if you want to access this inside formatted string, you can use this one and keep it inside curly braces. So tracking server for automation for auto healing fail services. So this way you can create for loop, and let's try to run this code. So let's try to run this code. So Python loops.py, mm, loops.py. So here you can see we have accessed this particular list with the help of for loop, and it has performed different. It has just printed the message. But if you want to perform different actions, you need to write lines of code to perform some automation on the server. So for example, if you want to take backup, you can take backup and print backup is taken. So let me print the statements right here. Backup has been started. Then backup command one, backup command two. You'll write some logic conditionals. You'll define some conditionals here. Conditionals logic. Based on conditionals, you will take backup. You will print message. So and thing is, we'll write as backup has been completed. If it fails, we'll write backup is failed. All succeed. Print conditional logic if it fails in between. and we'll print message accordingly. Right, like backup is failed due to exception, and we'll print the exception right here. So this way you can create a backup for different servers. And yeah, so here you can see we have created a loop to take a backup of these servers, web servers, and we have defined all the functionalities right here in the loop. But the right way to do this is with the help of function that we'll see at the end of this video. So for now, I hope you understand the logic of for loop, and this way you can define the for loop. So for item in list, and you need to follow the indentation here, and you just need to write your code. So this is the basic syntax for loop. Now we are pretty much done with for loop. Let's explore while loop. So in while loop, you need to make use of variables. So you need to define variable like, let's suppose variable of named as attempt 10 while attempt is greater than 0. What do you want? You just need to print, let's suppose you want to print attempt 1. So let's try to execute this step. So you can see we have attempted 10 times. This while loop has done 10 iterations, and it has got completed. So you can write it as this way as well. If attempt is equal to 1 and less than 10, then you can. So this, okay. So we have given the wrong thing right here. Okay. So this is endless loop. So if you give wrong condition in the while loop, will be treated as endless loop, and you just need to use keyboard interrupt. You need to use Control C in order to break that loop. So you need to be cautious while implementing while loop. If this condition gets wrongly implemented, or if the logic is if logic gets wrongly implemented, then it will the while loop will become endless, and it will keep on executing. So better to go with for loop. And if there are conditions where while loop is required, in that case you can use while loop along with break statement, where you can break the loop uh, upon different, like upon your condition, upon some condition. So here you can see this we have just reversed this condition and printed the loop, printed the statements from 1 to 10. So yeah, this way you can create the while loop. Next thing is functions. So let me uncomment this for loop code, and yeah, here you can see we have written a lot of repetitive lines for backup, and ideally this has to be done with the help of function. So let's remove this backup specific code, and paste it inside function called as backup. So to define functions, use def followed by function name. So here we'll create a function called as backup, and it will take a server name as the input, and here uh, you can add that server name. So backup has been started for server. Backup is failed due to exception in server. Backup has been completed for server. Okay, so this way you can create backup, and in the same loop we'll call this function backup, and we'll follow the server. Okay, so this server is defined right here, web 1, web 2, web 3. And in for loop, when it will print this first, it will firstly print this line, and it will call this backup function, and this backup function will take care of taking the backup. And if there's in case backup fails, then yeah, it will fail. It will if in case if backup fails, then it will print this message, and it will show the error. So let's try to execute this loop, and here you can see first thing is the first thing printed is this line, tracking web1 for autoiling file services. Then next thing is it has called this function backup server, and backup has been started for this backup server 1 web1. Then it has printed these statements. It has taken backup. Backup is complete for wave one. Then it went to wave two server for taking the backups. Backup has been completed for wave two. Wave three started, and wave three backup has been completed. So this way you can make use of these functions. You can efficiently reuse the code for different purposes. So we are done with functions as well. Functions are useful to reuse the code. Next thing is lambda function. So lambda functions are short one-line functions used for simple operations. So let's suppose if you want, so let me just comment out this backup call, and we'll skip the execution of backups. So this way you can simply stop the execution of backups for debugging purpose. So let's explore lambda functions. So lambda functions are one-liner functions used for simple operations like adding two numbers, etc. So let's suppose if I want to add, if I want to define functions or want to define function for adding two numbers, I'll simply define function name followed by lambda, and we'll define the variable arguments right here, and followed by operation which I want to perform with these arguments. And simply I'll simply call this function with some numbers like 100 and 110, and uh, so here you can see the addition is, so this way you can create lambda functions. And we are pretty much done with uh, our content for this course. Completed. If else block completed. Loops we have completed. Functions and lambda expressions we have completed. Now writing reusable and modular code. So let's try to create some models in loops. We have created a function for backup. So what we will do is we'll create this backup here in program called as backup. Okay, and we'll try to import this backup in other programs. So we'll remove this backup from here. Now if you try to execute this code, it will give the error, like you are getting error right here. Backup is not defined. So here you can see the error is reported way before than execution. The reason why you are getting error is we have removed backup functions. So let me remove this code. Okay. So inside this loop, we are calling this function, but we don't have any functions named as backup in this particular program. And we do have backup functions available in backup.py file. So simply if we want to create models in create models or import models, you can use import command, import instructions basically. So import backup. Okay. Now backup is imported, and here you can see backup is the model name. So backup is imported, and if you click on this one, you will be redirected to this particular block. So this way you can create a models in Python, and you can reduce the size of your code. So here you can see the backup is the model name, backup is the model name, and this backup is the function inside this model. If you click on this backup, it will redirect to this function. If you click on this backup, it will redirect to this particular file. So this is the difference between model and function. So model is basically the file where this model is basically the Python script where all the functions have been defined, and specific function is the part of that particular model. Let's execute this particular program. Loops.py, and here you can see the backup method has been called from this backup model. So these are the models inside backup. Models are basically scripts in the Python to avoid repetition of code. So yeah, we are pretty much done with basic syntax, variables, and data types. We have covered conditional statements like if, else if, block. Then we have covered loops, which includes for loop, while loop, take some. Next thing we have covered is functions and lambda expressions. The fifth thing we covered is modules, and we have written a backup module in the back.py file, and same has been called in the loops.py file. And this gives us a modular approach with the help of modules, our program becomes follows modular approach, and it becomes easy to organize your overall project with the help of modular approach. Next thing we are going to explore is creating a calculator with the help of this all these functionalities. So let me create a program called as calculator.py, calculator.py, and in this program I will I'll create few more uh, I'll create few more scripts. I will create few more Python scripts where I will define the logic for all the operations. So in this particular script, I'll define uh, different functions like addition, subtraction. Then we'll define function for division and definition for multiplication. Okay, a return num1 plus num2, and we'll pass num1 and num2 to all the functions. By default, we are taking two values here. If you want, you can take a number of values. You can implement program to take n number of input from the user and return the addition, subtraction, division, or multiplication based on their number of inputs. So same can be done. So here you need to use try except block. So try under try we will return this and we'll accept it printing. There is exception. There is exception. Exception input. Then we'll return num1 multiplied by num2. So this is multiplication operator. This is division operator. Plus minus is you all are already aware about. And we'll save this file as math operations dot py. And in calculator, what we will do is import math operations. Okay. Now our job is to take input from user. So we'll take integer input and yeah, we'll use the input method to take the inputs. We'll ask user to please provide number one, copy paste this number two, provide number two. We'll ask him to choose operations and we'll take choice provide operation. Please provide uh, input from below options. Please provide input from below options. And here you need to give the choices right here. So now based on choice, you need to call that specific function. So if choice equals, so we'll need this input in the form of integer as well. So if the choice equals 1, then we'll call math operations dot addition num1 num2 num1 comma num2 if choice equals to equal to 2. So ec- single equal to means assigning the value, equal to means comparison of it. So this means choice equals to 1 2, then we'll use subtract. If choice equals 3, then we'll call math operations. And if the choice is out of option, then in that case invalid input. So here we are returning the values from these particular functions, and here you need to print those values. So you need to call this function inside print method, inside print we are calling these functions, Inside print, we are calling these functions. Inside print, we are calling these functions. So yeah. Uh, here we have called subtract, division, and multiplication. Division and multiplication. Okay. So respective function will get called, and yeah, let's try to execute this program. So Python followed by calculator.py, calculator.py. Okay, module two, math operations. Okay, see, these both the files have been created inside main folder. Let's move it to module two, and here you can see math operations and calculator.py file. Let's try to execute now. Calculator.py. Okay, number one, 10, number two, 20. Let's try to add these values 30. So here you're getting the correct output. Here you can print the message as well, like addition is followed by comma, subtraction is, division is, and multiplication is. So for simplicity, you can print the message as well. Multiplication is and yeah, slash n, slash n. So please provide your input. Okay, and let's try to run this code once again. And you need to add slash n to get output on the next line. 20, 30. Now here four options have been given. We'll try to give five input, and here you can see invalid input has been printed. Let's try to give zero invalid input. So the if else block is working as expected. Let's try to test all the options given here. So addition, wrong input, 10, 20. Addition is working fine. Calculator 10, number one 10, number two test. Subtraction 0, subtraction is working fine. Number 10, number two 10. Redivision 1.0 is working fine. Number 10, number 10, 400, multiplication is 100. So all the operations are working fine. Let's try to give number 2 as 0 and try the division operation. And division, there is an exception in code. So here you can see there is an exception in code. And yeah, the exception has been handled by this except block. So this way you can efficiently manage the exceptions as well using the try except block. Whatever code you feel might have possible errors, that code you can keep it inside try block, and except block will catch those exceptions or errors. This is the working calculator for basic operations like addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. If you want, you can extend this as per the requirements, but this is the basic calculator, and we have used various things right here. We have used try catch block, we have used modules, we have used if else block, and yeah, we have tried to cover most of the things given in uh, this particular uh, module. We have implemented functions, we have implemented models, we have implemented if else block, we have used variables. If we want, we can make use of for loop as well, uh, or while loop to take the choice multiple times from the user, and based on choice he or she can exit from the while loop, and the code will get exited based on the inputs given to the while loop. So this way you can make use of these control flow functions and core logical blocks of Python to implement your projects and automation. So that's all for this particular video. In this module, you have learned how Python syntax works, how data is stored, how Python makes decision with the help of if-else block, how tasks are repeated with the help of for loop, while loops, and how we can make the reuse of code with the help of functions, lambda functions, and models. You are now thinking like a pro. Python programmer. So we are pretty much done with this particular module. In the next module, we'll explore Python data structures and we'll try to build a log analyzer project. The practice is the key when you learn any programming language. So don't skip coding and keep practicing. If you have any questions, queries, you can post it in the comment section and we'll try to respond to your queries as soon as possible. See you in the next one. Take care.